Well, congratulations, everybody. You've made it to the very last session of the conference. We are going to finish a little bit early today. I'm going to give us a little bit of an introduction to the general discussion in this session in this theatre. My name is Colin Dixon. I'm founder and chief analyst at Endscreen Media. Endscreen Media, by the way, is a free resource to you. There's news analysis, discussion every single day, and it's always free. So please spend some time there. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the environment for advertising. And I think one of the things that's come across very clearly in the conversation so far is that SVOD, single models, are no longer enough. And funnily enough, just before the last live TV Connect, our friend Reed Hastings had this to say about advertising. And you know, he could have said this. There are multiple quotes of Reed Hastings saying, advertising, no way, no how. It's not going to happen. It's just not what Netflix is about. Well, what a difference a couple of years make. Here's what he said during the Q1 2022 call. I about fell out my seat to hear him say this. And yes, indeed, they are moving ahead with an advertising-supported tier. And actually, the rumors are that that will happen before the end of this year. So what the heck happened? Was it just that Netflix hit a speed bump in subscribers that forced them to do this? Or was it something else? And so here's what actually happened. For Netflix, they hit a period in their existence, in their maturity, where everybody that wanted Netflix had it under the existing rules, under the existing business terms, right? Everybody had it. There really was nobody else to sell to in many, many markets, in mature markets like the UK and the US and parts of Europe and Scandinavia. We all have Netflix. So in order to continue to grow, Netflix had to change. It was that simple. They had to change the game. And funnily enough, Netflix is not obviously a student of history. If it were, it might have noticed that Sky, about 10 years ago, hit the same problem in the UK market with satellite television. It hit saturation. It hit about 10 million subscribers and couldn't grow anymore. Everybody that wanted Sky under the existing conditions had it. So what did Sky do? It changed the game. It launched Now TV and gave a different formulation of much of the same content to customers so that they could subscribe to for much shorter periods, make much lower commitment, and really control how they spend. So that's the lesson that Netflix has learned, that has brought it to the need to have advertising so that they can reduce the price and go on to continue to grow in markets where they're stagnating. But they're not the only company that has suddenly got religion on ads, right? HBO Max is adding ads. Has added ads. Discovery Plus has launched with ads. Disney Plus is adding ads. So what is going on? Why is everybody suddenly launching ad-supported tiers? Part of it is certainly growth. They want to continue to grow as quickly as possible. And what they're telling us is that it's all about customer choice. But in reality, it's about this, right? Wall Street is getting really tough. The financial markets are getting really tough now, on particularly online services. They want to see results. And how they are showing their displeasure is by depressing their stock prices. And many of the executives at these companies are basically, a lot of their remuneration comes from stock value. So that has got everybody's attention. And I think one of the biggest learnings over the last 3 or 4 years for everybody in the SVOD market is that, you know what? Consumers don't mind a few ads, particularly if you give them a discount. And so this allows companies to continue to grow by providing customer choice, a slightly cheaper price. And the interesting thing is, when you look at the revenue that they earn per subscriber when they introduce ads, very often the ARPU doesn't decline. It stays the same or actually goes up, which is pretty interesting. That means that they're able to make up the difference in the subscription discount with advertising. In Hulu, for example, in the US, since it introduced, it cut the price of its lowest entry tier with advertising. ARPU didn't change. What did change was they gained a lot of subscribers. So that's what it's all about. And we are talking about a heck of a lot of money. And the thing to notice from this graph is what is growing fastest over the next 5 years is advertising. Sure, SVOD is going to continue to expand, but not nearly as fast as AVOD and fast linear. See the numbers there. In the US market alone, I wrote a paper on fast linear that released late last year. It's available free from the website. Just go and look for the white paper, Getting Fast. I forecast just the US market, $2.1 billion from fast linear channels last year, $4.1 billion next year. So enormous growth in this market. So that is what is bringing everybody to advertising. There's a large amount of money coming here. Why are we seeing such explosive growth in the market suddenly? We've had AVOD for a long time, right? It's been around forever, as long as we've had interactive television, internet television rather. There are 3 reasons why we're seeing such tremendous growth in AVOD and FAST now. Reason number 1 is viewers are there in force. 3 years ago, that wasn't necessarily true. Today, in the UK, 7 in 10 people are using SVOD services. In the US, 9 in 10 people are using SVOD services. SVOD is great, but people get bored. They come out and they search for other content. The barrier to entry to AVOD and FAST is 0, right? They find something they want to watch there, they can just watch it. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2 is AVOD and FAST is now built into the television platform. Samsung has Samsung TV Plus, LG has LG channels, and of course Pluto TV is available if you want to download it. There's another service called Zumo that's also available. So they come built into the channels, and as we heard in this morning's session, the platform operators are now pushing their own services to get people to watch them. So people are easily finding them. And the last, but possibly the most important, is it's free. So we are going to see tremendous growth in this market over the next 5 years. You know that if you've attended any of the other sessions at this conference. And that is what we're going to be talking about this afternoon. How we accelerate that growth, how we enhance the experience. So we're going to have lots of conversations about that for for the rest of the afternoon. And with that, I am going to hand over to our first interview. So I'd like to invite Omar Oakes. He's editor of the Media Leader, and Glaudino Conran, oh my gosh, Lostanlen? Is that correct? Did I get that right? Very good. From Imagine.com. Please join us.
Thank you very much, Colin, for a very interesting presentation indeed, and we're going to delve into some of the topics raised in a bit more depth. I'm Omar Oakes. I'm editor of The Media Leader. The Media Leader is a sister brand to VideoNet and Mediatel events, so I'm pleased to be with you here today. And with me is Dr. Glaudino Conran, I hope I pronounced that correctly, who is Chief Sales and Marketing Officer at Imagine Communications. Thanks for being with us today. So we're here to talk about ensuring broadcast-grade monetization and ad experiences in free connected TV. So a lot of topics to get into. Before we begin, maybe just set the scene, explain what Imagine is and what you do there.
Yes, hello. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to see everyone again. So at Imagine Communications, we basically provide solutions to broadcasters and media companies around the world to make and monetize TV. And what that means is just creating channels and then providing playout services for that, as well as monetizing providing the tools to put ads into linear and digital channels.
Okay, so what we're going to do right now, we've got about 15 minutes and maybe 5 minutes of Q&A, so if you have any questions, just furiously raise your hands and we'll try to get to as many as possible. But if you don't, I have lots. We're going to explore key trends in the ad-supported streaming market, further to what Colin was saying just now. What I really want to do is focus on the quality of the ad experience, though. I don't know if we have anyone from Netflix or Disney Plus in the audience, but it's not just Netflix which is thinking of introducing ads. We're also due to get an ad-supported tier on Disney Plus as well. I wrote a column a couple of weeks ago where I actually tried to issue a challenge to Netflix and say, well, you guys were the OG when it comes to binge viewing, etc. And further to what Reed Hastings might be thinking about giving people consumer choice, can you actually offer a different high-quality ad experience which doesn't emulate, I guess, YouTube and skippable ads? That's what I want to see. Tell me what you think about that and maybe kind of explain what are the key differences in how a media owner can monetize linear TV and streaming as opposed to video on demand.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent challenge. I mean, following Colin's description of the growth is there, it's happening, so more ads are going to be produced on digital platforms. So what is the challenge there? It's to bring what I would call the broadcast quality of linear channels into how advertising placements are made on the digital experience, to your point about allowing the brands who provide those services to really provide a high quality ad experience. And in fact, the biggest advantage that they have over linear today in the traditional sense is the fact that they can highly target their audience and really provide a high quality advertising viewing experience. And then the other thing that we see, obviously, in the overall ecosystem for channels, for media companies who are still present on the linear side, but now also provide a digital experience. The biggest challenge for them is to make sense of a cross-platform approach, as opposed to handling linear here, handling digital there, and not offering the brands they work with a comprehensive approach to the overall ad experience. And again, leveraging the targeting capabilities of digital, but really thinking about campaigns across all platforms in an optimized way. So that's the key differentiation for the brands to make more money and our customers to make more money as well.
So the cross-platform is really interesting. Who out there, out of the media owners, would you say does this well, if anyone?
Well, I don't want to be in trouble with any of my potential customers, so I'm not going to name names, but I would say that what we hear from our customers, it is a pain point right now for them to have to manage two different ecosystems. Uh-huh. And the truth is, most brands, and I don't have the exact stat in mind, sorry, but basically they don't want to be advertised on digital because they don't benefit of the same quality that the same customer will provide to them on the linear side. So that to me is an opportunity to do better. And so, for example, what do we mean? Not playing the same ads 3 times in a row, 5 times in a row. Who hasn't had that experience sometimes on OTT, right? That's not good. You would never see that on the linear channels. And really understanding the context of the programming of the content that is before and after the ad. That's another thing that is critical in the linear world that needs to be applied to digital for the brands to feel like, okay, my brand is safe. I'm not being played in between 2 contents that would potentially, hurt my image, right? These are a couple of key quality aspects of linear that we need to bring to the digital platform.
This discussion is happening at a really interesting time because inflation is obviously a massive concern for marketers and media owners right now. What's a better way of asking this then? Is this all going to be really expensive?
I don't think it has to be. So first of all, there are a few technology enablers such as trying to drive everything through the cloud that can actually drive efficiency. But I also think that, simply if you look at how you run your business, and instead of having 2 different teams on 2 sides of the house and you bring them together, you're going to be more cost effective. And therefore you can spend more of your energy with the brands about tackling what's going on at the macro level and how do we reach to those new audiences a different way. Like the new viewers experience, the generation of our children obviously will never watch linear TV the way we used to. So when at the macro level the economy is feeling the pain on the inflation, then the targeting and really knowing your audience and delivering relevant advertising is going to be one way to keep the value of those ads at the right level.
Okay. And so how can media owners maximize the value of free ad-supported TV, especially in streaming?
Yeah, well, so I think the quality is number one. Again, it's attracting the brand. So in the case of fast channels, obviously, they don't have linear business by definition. So their challenge is to attract the brands for a relevance about the service they offer, the audience they serve, and really sort of demonstrate that they can deliver high quality advertising experience as well as high quality content. Obviously, the fast channels have the advantage to also have a lower cost of operation, so they're more flexible in terms of their costs, and they can be on and off, and and move on to the next relevant topic. So I think that that's a way to also repurpose yourself, if you will, in terms of different target segments.
Right. So what do you think the role is in connected TV within what we call total TV, linear plus streaming? How does it add value, for example, with reach and frequency?
Yeah, well, exactly. So that back to kind of the cross-platform discussion we were having. For those who serve both linear and digital, that overall quality and efficiency is the differentiation of compared to what they do today, but also what they have been and who they're up against. When you look at Disney's strategy, for example, with Disney Plus, they essentially, you would say, compete with Netflix. But it's not really true, because Disney has always had linear channels going around the world. But because of the nature of the content that they deliver on linear, which is not a lot heavy on the live side of content, they are a natural linear plus streaming provider, and that way they can follow the viewers into their habits, right? So no longer, because Disney Plus were for kids, obviously, and now we know how kids consume TV. So this is what I think is the key sort of advantage for those platforms to combine the two and think about it in an aggregate way, as opposed to two separate experiences.
I mean, do you see this as a point of difference, a point of competitive advantage for these platforms going forward? Where, we hear, Colin was talking about what Wall Street wants and how tough the market is, and you always hear it's all about the content, which is why we've had these huge commissioning budgets which Netflix is now retrenching on. But do you think there's a competitive advantage in actually offering a better quality ad experience, which I suppose, from what we've seen in the last 10 years with free content on different platforms, we haven't?
Yeah, I really think so. And I think back to your question about fast channels, I think that's where you're going to retain and attract those viewers of a new generation, of a new way of how they consume content. And that's why, in order for the different fast channels to differentiate, that I think is going to be key. I think that if someone is not willing to pay for a service, but they don't mind the ad, and the ad is relevant to them, the targeting, and it's high quality, it's actually almost like additional great content that they're watching. It sort of combines with the overall experience.
Yeah.
The relevance of it too.
Yeah, at the risk of sounding old manish, I remember in the 90s thinking of, did you see that ad in Tango, the orange guy slapping someone, and later on Cadbury's Gorilla, and if I might say so, you don't hear people saying that as much anymore, and it's not just a video on demand thing, it's a linear thing as well. And do you think that new formats beyond skip ads can enable people to rekindle that love of advertising?
It may not be, and that may be, I'd be maybe challenged on that. It may not be the creative part so much as it is the relevance that I think is what opens the door to a better quality, if you will, and a higher return.
So I guess why would a brand be interested apart from simply just adding incremental reach? Incremental frequency, sorry. Well, sorry, I actually don't understand the question. Sorry, it's my fault. When we're talking about CTV and what does it add, what are the opportunities beyond, incremental reach in terms of just adding different parts of audiences which you couldn't get, reaching the young people as well?
Sorry, I apologize. Yeah, no, well, it's additional monetization, frankly, because again, yes, okay, right now these are free channels and they're going to be ad supported, and so you're increasing your viewership. So how much more money can you make from that, right? And again, I think it's if you're able to demonstrate, and that remains to be measured and quantified, but if you're able to demonstrate a higher quality of targeted ad, I think that once the big brands understand that and see the value, I think that's going to create more money in the ecosystem. So not just the number of viewers, but the value that they represent as subgroups, the specific targets. That's what I think is another value stream of that ecosystem.
Okay.
Does that answer that question?
It answers it very well.
I finally got it.
Does anyone of the audience have questions? You could probably ask them better than I can today. If you don't worry, I have lots. Just wave furiously and we'll send a microphone over. So let's get into trends. What trends are you seeing that people really need to know about going forward? We've spoken about inflation, we've talked about development of technology. What other trends in the market do you see that people should really take away that they should know about? Yeah,
I think related to going back to FAST and how new channels come about together, but even the existing ones, thanks to the cloud, I mean, and we've talked about cloud for a long time, for production, etc. But the big advances that we see in the industry is also cloud enabling more complex workflows, more complex operations that used to be on-prem, such as making a program. So cloud playout really allows channels to be set up in 15 minutes, a new channel. So you have your content, but you can be up and running in 15 minutes. It's really amazing. And then provide that ability to fail fast or succeed fast is, I think, with no pun intended, it's one of the trends that we're seeing, and because our customers have to focus on so many more multiple platforms, they need cost efficiency on those traditional operations, and so the ability to leverage cloud, to spend more in the cloud potentially, it gives them, the cost benefits that they need to reuse elsewhere, whether it's to enhance the quality of the overall experience of the viewer or to acquire content, because ultimately they will still be competing on content, right? Even if there are ads in between. So I think that's one of the. It's not so much of a new trend as it is going deeper into the technology of making TV and making video and programs.
So how widely is that used right now? I'm not an expert in cloud computing. I assumed that this was happening a lot already. You're saying it isn't.
No,
but
so in our traditional business, when you make live TV, for example, a lot of it is still very much on-premise overall infrastructure. And so more of that is now moving to the cloud, because there are some technology advances that allow the delays to be much smaller, the ability to deal with more live content, more complex television workflows that weren't available before or weren't possible before. So.
And so would that enable, I mean, I remember when 5G came on stream in the UK, everyone was talking about these amazing live experiences that you could deliver because you had this so much faster and instantaneous low lag mobile bandwidth. Are you saying that you're finally, is that an example of how you could finally realize those opportunities for live streaming?
So it's the old debate between broadcast and telecom, you would say. So yes, obviously 5G brings more speed to the network, therefore lower latency. But right now, broadcast over the air or cable, etc., is still much, there's less latency there. So that's what we're talking about. So you still, if you watch a big sport event over the top today, and someone else below your, watch it on TV, like broadcast TV, you can tell there's a difference. That's still true. The experience is much better, quality of image, and depending on which, what you use, but the latency is still there. So I think there is still some room to get some benefits from running higher quality television experience.
Okay, I'm going to put you on the spot now. What predictions do you have? If we're having this conversation again this time next year, what will be different when it comes to quality of ad experience on fast channels, when it comes to the offerings, when it comes to different buying that brands do on connected TV? Yeah,
that's a tough one, obviously. But I'd imagine we like to think that we can bridge the two worlds together of broadcast linear quality to the digital platform, and we're already talking to some of our key customers around the world to make that happen. So it might be a little early to say, well, in 1 year from now, it will all be seamless and the same brand quality can be offered. But that's the goal, to start that, and to start see the brands recognize that indeed, if you provide a good quality on the digital, then it's worth spending more there too, not just on the linear side. So I think we'll see improvement there.
Okay. Any questions? I must admit, there's light shining in my face, so if you do, you'll have to be particularly active and throwing your hands around. Just want to make sure everyone has a chance. Okay. So what final key takeaway would you think, if there's one thing that everyone should take away from this, in their discussions with, whether it's discussions with marketers, with their media agencies, with their tech teams, what should it be?
Well, I think with the tech team and the media agencies, and that might be part of the ecosystem challenge that we have to change the way we've been, the big we of the industry, we've been placing ads, thinking about the different platforms. I think that it requires a little, kind of change management program around, okay, just forget the way you used to do it, get together in the room and think about it holistically, and let's start from there, as opposed to trying to either apply the old linear manners to digital, or let the digital run the linear the same way digital is run, because that doesn't work, and it creates conflict and inefficiencies. So I would say that's the sort of change challenge for everyone.
Who do you think should buy Channel 4? With all of this in mind, what would you, who should take on all four and make it into a even more wonderful product, bearing in mind everything you said about watching the same ad?
So, you know, I'm totally neutral. I will provide the technology and the services to anyone who buys Channel 4.
No, not naming names, but what kind of company would you want to be?
I'm not going there.
Okay. She's not going there. Okay, that's all the time we have left, unfortunately. They're pulling me off. Thank you very much, Claudina, and thank you very much. Thank you.